I'd like to acknowledge the Whadjuk Noongar people, elders past, present and emerging, and I'd also like to pay my respects with gratitude to Wallyup country on which I get to work and live from, also known as South Fremantle. Before we begin, I would love to invite you to practice a ritual with me that I do before I start each visit with my postpartum clients. So from wherever you are, if you'd like to get a comfy seat, and if you could just close down your eyes, place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. You're going to take 3 deep breaths. Inhaling in and exhaling out. Inhale in and exhale out. Inhale in and exhale out. Then I repeat to myself, all I need is within, all I need is within, and all I need is within. I find I do this to center myself and put me back in my body from where I've come from and what I'm going to. Before each visit, I may be picking something up for a client. I may have just made something. I may be thinking also of, in my visit, when or what I'm going to do for that client, for whatever pops up. So in that moment before I meet them, I center myself and bring me back into my body. So I hope that's of some reverence for you and has put you back into your center. My name is Tiff, and I am a full spectrum postpartum doula from the Ritual Doula. I am full spectrum postpartum doula. Full spectrum meaning all of the polarities that postpartum bring, and full spectrum, that meaning from full term birth, postpartum, and that sacred window of 40 days, and the other end of postpartum, and that is addressing pregnancy loss, be that through termination, early birth, and stillbirth. So I am here to honour your postpartum window, whatever the spectrum you are on, and then that may be. Why I'm the ritual doula is because, like I just gave an example, I love ritual, and I want to bring ritual into this space, and a remembering of bringing us back to our centre, and ritual, I believe, brings us to that centre. I started my postpartum journey for 2 reasons. One, I felt there was a lack of a beautiful Eastern philosophy of being slow and nurturing this postpartum window, and I felt that we had lost this tradition in the West, living busy, corporate, full-on lives, and that I see being carried into the postpartum window, which in Eastern philosophy is slow and nurtured and honoured. And in some way I wanted to bring that to marry again, a bit of a remembering, a bit of nurturing of that time. Being a beauty therapist for over 16 years, I had always such a passion for my clients or friends or family in general that were either in the pregnancy space, the birthing space, and the postpartum space. such a fascination and such a really a woman-centered care passion on all levels, which then when I found there was such thing as a postpartum doula, I thought that is my dream job. Another reason and why I am full spectrum is at the age of 21, I went through pregnancy loss myself, and within my experience was absolutely fully nurtured and cocooned in love and support and honouring of my journey, and of my healing journey as well, and the healing of my body, that I felt a lack in honouring of any woman's postpartum journey, whatever that may look like. And I want to honour that and bring that as a service to anyone. So marrying those two is the creation of the postpartum doula and the ritual doula. I want to honour this sacred window of a number of factors, and that being it's an absolute pivot in your life, coming from non-mum to mum. So into matrescence, I think, is a big shift that is not honoured and nurtured and cared for, and want to reclaim that and make that something that is really looked after. What our bodies go through, for example, the womb has a wound the size of a dinner plate in it postpartum, and if that enough for you doesn't make you realize how much it is a time of healing and slowness and nurturing, not to mention you in your postpartum window will have the most amount of hormone surges that you'll ever have in your lifetime, which I think is pretty wild and beautiful at the same time. And as I said before, the total pivot from work, woman, person to mother, postpartum woman is completely different, and all the wild things that you go through within that, I found needs to be honoured as well. And I thought I would just share with you two factors of my offerings, and that's the pillars of what I offer in my postpartum visits, and then a few little tips and tricks that maybe can help you with your postpartum journey, and a little bit of planning in that. So I have a couple of pillars that I go through, and that are my resources to help you, support you in your postpartum window. The first one is on every visit I give an Ayurvedic inspired, and this is going back to the Eastern wisdom and philosophy. I feel in the West we've lost it, but in Eastern philosophy, be that Ayurvedic care or beautiful Chinese 40-day confinements, is something that I'm very passionate about. So what I lean to in my offerings and in my visits is where I get my wisdom from. So that's sort of what I base it on. And within the first part of my visit, I will sit down with mum and go through a debrief, how she's feeling, what she's feeling, offer a beautiful, nourishing, hormone-supporting tea, and may that be a lactation cookie or some sort of breastfeeding supporting snack. And then I do an Ayurvedic-inspired foot ritual, and that is just literally soaking her feet and showing her and nurturing her that I am where the word derives from, which is doula, which is a Greek word, and that is woman servant. I literally sit at her feet and are there for her for the next 2 hours for whatever she needs. I won't go too much into it, what happens in the foot ritual, but what I'm meaning is I'm there for the mother, there to show her that I am at her feet, at her service for the next 2 hours. I'm also there at her feet as a A pillar of my visit is physical touch. And some mothers might just think, oh, I'm touched so much. But that's a wanting touch. That's a wanting from her baby. She's being touched from her baby, which is beautiful. But I reverse that, and I am there to give her a nurturing touch. And I am there to nurture her and touch her. So it's sort of, she's giving touch to everyone. May that be her husband or wife, partner, family, children, new baby. And I like to give that back to her. Another pillar is nourishment, and that goes from me bringing her a meal at the end of the visit. So when I leave, she is then given a postpartum healing inspired, nurturing, yummy food. And another part of the pillar is nourishment, and that might be in just me being there as a listening ear. So hearing how she's going, filling up her water station, doing her dishes, folding that washing that's just ever so getting larger and larger and larger. I want nourishment on levels from food to well-being to helping her close her brain tabs in her brain of things to do, of her to-do list that she can't do. I am there to do. I am there to be the example that she can be in total receivership, and that is ultimately what the postpartum window is for her to be there to be the best she can for her baby, and for me to look after her on whatever level that may be. So I hope that gives you a little insight of what a postpartum doula can offer. It is the benefits of a postpartum doula. I just thought I would touch on is that I am not family. I am staff. I am not a guest. You do not have to make yourself up for me. You don't have to make this house up for me. You don't have to be anything on my arrival. I am wholly and solely there for your needs. You do not need to make me a cup of tea. I am there to help with what I thought would be maybe organising a meal train. If you've never heard of a meal train before, this is something that's organised by me or a friend or yourself. And that's really looking at supporting you in your window of postpartum by not having to think of a meal to cook. So that's setting up a mini village with these people that I just mentioned and getting them on a roster to cook you a meal every day for maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3, 4 would be amazing. And that is not for them to come in and drop you a meal and hold the baby. That is then for them maybe to, if you want that, that's great, but that's also for them to just drop at your door and leave. So you and your family don't have to worry about cooking a meal. Which leads me into the postpartum prepping and how you want your postpartum to look. What I would encourage you to look at is how you can feel most supported, nourished, and at ease in this sacred window. This could look like making lots of meals and freezing them. This could look like organising a meal train. This could look like setting boundaries, and what I mean by boundaries is when you are feeling nourished and at ease and keeping a very sacred home at that time. Does that mean maybe your partner setting up sort of some situation where family members are at a time limit of an hour and that you are not the one that has to say, oh, could you leave? Maybe it's your partner that acknowledges that you're maybe wanting a little bit of space and that they allow that to be that role and to be that boundary and to say maybe time's up. Is that your partner maybe putting a little sign on the door saying mother and baby are sleeping, even if mother and baby aren't sleeping, but who were to know? Is that maybe your partner looking at maybe taking your phone away from you and answering texts or writing texts for you back to people who maybe are so eagerly excited to see how you and Bub are going, but you're maybe just not up for it, and getting them to reply to a text? Maybe looking at little ways of, boundaries to see how you will feel most nourished and at ease in your postpartum window. And people wanting to see you and hold the baby after you is beautiful, and of course there will be a time for that, but maybe really looking at honouring what is going to be best suited for you and your family. And that might be just a little text saying, can't wait for you to meet the baby, but at the moment we are looking at building our beautiful relationship and navigating our postpartum, and if, with all due respects, that's waiting until you get a text from us, and we'd love you to meet the baby when we feel comfortable. Ultimately, what things you can implement to make your postpartum journey as beautiful and nourishing as you feel is right for you. Another form of support is looking at getting a postpartum doula, helping support you in this. What I like to say is that we can't do it all, and we're not meant to do it all. And that's calling on your village, calling on support, calling on a postpartum doula. My ultimate message is I would love for all birthing people to know, and families to know, that postpartum nourishment is your birthright, because this window is so sacred, and it is a time of total restoration. I want you to know that postpartum doulas are here to mother the mother. I hope in this last 17 minutes that I have given you an insight to what a postpartum doula does. Please feel free to reach out to me. I want to acknowledge and thank Sarah from the Yes Queen for allowing me to be a part of this beautiful home rituals portal. I'm very grateful, and I wish everyone well on their postpartum journey, whatever spectrum you're on. And I hope we start to regain this slow, beautiful, nurturing window that is all things postpartum. I'm Tiff. I'm the Ritual Doula. Wishing you postpartum blessings. Thank you.